So we absolutely killed it last week, and I want to make sure that we take some time in preparation for this up and coming trading week. What's going on, guys? It's Ricky here with Tactical Solutions. I hope that you guys are all having an amazing Sunday. Welcome to our Sunday Stock Talk. This is where I go live and I break down the top 10 stocks that our group members see value in. I really hope that you learned something new, and if you do, please consider dropping a thumbs up and subscribing if you feel like we earned it. One of the things that I want to remind you is that when it comes down to breaking down any of these plays, if you have any questions, feel free to direct message me via Instagram or via Discord, which is the first or third link in the description down below. You are going to hear me talk about my Learn Plan Profit group. It is the only group and the only team that I work with on a closer basis. So if you want the ability to be able to watch me trade live, if you're an absolute beginner and you feel like it would be of value for you to get an inside look behind every trade I take during those live sessions, then again, it's all included within LPP 2.0, which is the second link in the description down below. So please make sure you check it out if you haven't done so already. And if you join today, then you can watch me trade live as soon as tomorrow. Let me go ahead and start sharing my screen so you can see exactly what it is that I'm looking at. I am using the Webull trading application. It is a free and available application to anyone in the US. It's the fifth link in the description down below. You don't have to use the same one that I use, but again, if you end up signing up for LPP 2.0, if you like the way that I break things down, or if you just want to try something new because your brokerage is just old and outdated, then right now they do have a sign-up bonus. So if you click the fifth link down below, you'll earn up to 12 free shares when your initial deposit is at least $5 or more. So really do appreciate it. Let's go ahead and jump right into it. So you will see people in the live chat, which should be on the right-hand side of this video, asking questions and sharing what stock they want me to break down. You do have to be subscribed to the channel to partake in that live chat, but that's it, right? So if you want me to break down any stock, feel free to share it in that live chat, and I would be more than happy to break it down for you. I do want to remind you that just because I break something down and share my opinion is not fact. I've been wrong many, many times, right? But the whole idea is that we share ideas among one another, right? To get different perspectives of different opportunities. So I really hope that you enjoy this little session. And if you do, please consider dropping a thumbs up. So I just wanted to start off by talking about where I see the NASDAQ market right now, right? So if we pay attention to the NASDAQ futures, which is, again, they trade obviously over the weekend. I mean, they opened up about, 2 hours ago. But as of right now, the NASDAQ market broke below 15,000. So it's not looking too hot for NASDAQ. We pulled on back based off of last week's performance, and we're testing previous support zones. This is for QQQ, which is the 1-for-1 NASDAQ ETF, meaning that when the NASDAQ market goes up 1%, then so does QQQ. The really cool thing about this is that we are testing a previous support range right around 355. I want to remind you, patterns tend to repeat themselves. They don't always have to. So what exactly does that mean? That means that, well, based off of our previous support range, yes, we did find a support here, and it did bounce all the way back up to its previous resistance of around 380. Now, that is why I find this week to be so interesting. For those that are not aware, this upcoming trading week is the last trading week for the month of September. And there's a thing that I like to call headline momentum, and it's from how the month started to how the month ends. Is it green or is it red, right? Well, looking at the date, we can look at the start of September to where we're at right now. It's a red month. And there's a thing called headline momentum where you just see a bunch of news outlets continue to bash that the stock market or the NASDAQ market is on track for maybe one of the worst months in the past couple of months, whatever the case might be. And it fuels more fear. It fuels more selling pressure. So I would not be surprised that although we are at a previous support range, that the market could break below this. And if the NASDAQ market breaks below this support range and it begins to sell off, then all of your tech stocks are most likely going to sell off as well. So it's good to be aware of this, right? You shouldn't freak out. It's not the end of the world. It just means that we have to take a further step back and look at now the day chart instead of the 4-hour time frame and ask ourselves, we've had an amazing 2023. This is a nice little pullback that, yeah, it could get maybe a little bit worse than before it gets better. but it's been an amazing year, right? So although I love to share and create thumbnails and titles that instill fear, right? If you trade off of a title or if you trade off of a thumbnail, then you got bigger issues, right? You should be someone that can make your own decisions yourself. And as of right now, right, even looking at how amazing the market's performance has been for 2023, we must understand that, yeah, things can get worse before they get better. So let's take it, day by day, week by week, and really begin to ask ourselves, are we actually beginning to indicate signs of a recovery? Or if we sell off, remember, the only people that freak out when the market sells off are those that did not prepare. Just like last week on Friday, right? Market sold off and I traded SQQQ. SQQQ goes up when the NASDAQ market goes down. Very simple, right? So if the NASDAQ market all of a sudden begins to really sell off, what do you think I'm going to be trading? SQQQ. If the NASDAQ market all of a sudden begins to recover and it begins to indicate signs of an uptrend, what do you think I'm going to be trading? TQQQ, because then this one goes up when the NASDAQ market goes up. Very simple, right? There's no reason to overcomplicate it. With that being said, let's go ahead and break down the top 10 stocks that you guys see value in, and please make sure that you share that in the live chat. So I'm going to start off with the first ones that I see here. All right. Did he end up swing trading American Airlines? I did not. I haven't gone in yet, but I would love to break it down because guess what, right? If you watch that video about the swing trade for American Airlines, just so you could see, I have no open position on American Airlines. I made it very clear in that video that I would not open up a position early because we all know that the cheap can always get cheaper. Can I get a show of hands in the live chat? How many times have you entered a stock like this because it looks cheap, it's approaching a previous low, and you buy because you're like, oh, okay, I'm going to buy here and it's bounced here before, so it has to go up. And then guess what? It continues to sell off, right? So if you're someone that's like, Ricky, why wouldn't you buy this right now? Well, it's cheap here. It was cheap last week. It was cheap the week before that based off of recent patterns. The cheap can always get cheaper. And if you don't want to learn from my experience, then see all the hands that are being raised in the live chat that from their own experience, yes, the cheap can always get cheaper. It's a very frustrating thing to enter a position just thinking that the market has to recover because now you're in it. But guess what? You're irrelevant to the market. I'm irrelevant to the market. Everyone is, right? All that matters, in my opinion, is market direction. And do you have it working with you or against you? And if you choose to take a position early, then that is 100% the decision that you chose to make, and you're going to pay the price for it, right? If all of a sudden it begins to go up, then great, you got lucky. But again, what are we here to do? To try to encourage you to implement good best practices. And it's not about being perfect, but about entering and exiting when it makes sense. Not just because you can, but because it actually makes sense. You have a why behind the trade, right? So as of right now, it's getting rejected on this 4-hour time frame below the EMA line. It's showing signs of lower lows and lower highs. It's trading below the moving average. I really like the setup, right, on American Airlines as it gets closer to previous lows, as it tends to bounce here. But again, patterns tend to repeat themselves. They don't always have to. I love the upside potential, but I would love it even more at $12 or maybe at $11.65. I'm in no rush to enter American Airlines, and I think that's the beautiful thing about it. Once and if the opportunity presents itself where this thing begins to trade like it did here, right, where it sold off and then broke above EMA and then began to form higher lows, higher highs, all that stuff, this is what I want to see. Trading above the EMA and trading above and holding above the moving average. Even from here, right, that entry right around $14 is not perfect because it hit lows of $12.60. But guess what? It made sense there because it's actually indicating signs of an uptrend. It's doing something here that it wasn't doing here, right? And that's showing signs of growth. And even once you wait for confirmation, based off of the highs that it hit, that's 38%. I'm not a perfect trader. I'm not here to pretend to be. But again, that's the beautiful thing about waiting for proper criteria to be met. So let's go ahead and move on to the next one. What's up, Remy? You okay? Remy, I'm busy. Go with mama. Sorry about that, guys. Let me go ahead and move on to the next one. So Daniel is asking me to break down Apple. I'd be more than happy to break this one down. This is actually something that I was talking to my LPP team about yesterday. During my live trading session with Apple. So one of the things that I want to share with you guys is that Apple is one of the most valuable companies, if not the most valuable company that's publicly traded, right? It sits at a $2.73 trillion market cap. I mean, it's a behemoth of a company. With that being said, very similar to NASDAQ, it's testing a support range. With such a large market cap and with so much influence that it would have, what do you see going on here, right? What do you see forming? It's trading below the moving average. It's not that it has to, but it's that if it does break below 172, right? We can't be surprised that if Apple begins to sell off, then it will carry the rest of the market down with it, right? It's a tech company. And I think that's just important to note that, yes, it is at a previous support range. It'd be nice if it bounces here and then all of a sudden if it begins to recover. But if things get worse before they get better, then this thing can begin to sell off. And that's exciting, right? Because yeah, it might not be exciting if you're currently invested in it, but even for myself, I'm currently invested in it. And even if it sells off, it's just another opportunity for me to buy at a cheaper price range, right? And that's the part that excites me is I could even make money, shorting it as it sells off. But of course, I wouldn't want to do that with Apple. But just want to make you guys aware. If you're asking me about Apple, yes, it is testing a previous support range. It is getting rejected right now by both EMA and the moving average. And we'll just have to wait and see. If the NASDAQ market begins to recover, then hopefully Apple can follow in its footsteps. But if Apple all of a sudden wants to leave the market with the sell-off, then just know it's going to be, a tough pill to swallow once Apple breaks below 170 for its price point. So we'll have to wait and see see what ends up happening on this last trading week for the month of September. So consolidation with no confirmation. I think that's a great way to put it, right? A lot of consolidation here, no confirmation of a reversal. For me, that's my criteria is not met there, right? Buying the dip here is buying the dip blind. So let me go ahead and let's make these a little bit quicker if possible. INTC, what's going on, Jeff? So INTC is Intel, right? So Intel with an ascending uptrend pattern based coming from an aggressive sell-off. So this is a little bit different, but I see what you see here. The higher lows, the higher highs, we'll see, right? Just like the 3 stages of reversal. Right now it's in the rejection stage, but just like it has been before, and then consolidates for about a week and then breaks above EMA, and then it begins to indicate signs of an uptrend. And it does that every single time. It sells off, it consolidates, and then it breaks above, and then it actually begins to recover. So instead of trying to be perfect and buying the dip, which of course comes at a greater form of risk, for myself, I would rather wait for more proper confirmation of waiting for indication of an uptrend and actually not hoping for something to happen, but waiting for the confirmation of it actually happening. So yeah, I like the setup here. I like that you're trading a reversal. It's something that I personally like to look forward to, or that I like to look for. But again, just because I like to doesn't mean that you need to. And one of the things that I would mainly focus on myself is waiting for proper confirmation of this reversal, because yeah, it would be nice if you buy here and just hope that it recovers. But what if all of a sudden it just begins to sell off and it begins to do something that it's never done before, right? That's why risk management and waiting for confirmation is so important. So let's go ahead and move on to the next one. I would love to break down TGT. TGT continues to get cheaper. What is it that they say? Go woke, go broke. TGT has been selling off ever since really one of its big earnings. It gapped back down, and as of right now, it's trading at $112 per share. The cheap can always get cheaper. And with that being said, based off of previous highs, it offers 127% ROI. Again, I think that this is a perfect example of it was cheap last week. It was cheap a week before that. It was cheap a week before that. If you are someone that's trying to find the bottom of a stock, I'm not your guy. I'm not a fortune teller. I can't predict the future, right? But if this is something that you want to pay attention to because you view it to be, a good dip buy opportunity once confirmation is actually confirmed, right? Once it actually begins to indicate signs of reversal, then great. But as of right now, TGT is on a free fall, and I don't want anything. It makes more sense to short it than it does to go long with it, right? And because of that, I would have to say that, just keep it simple for myself, right? Wait for proper confirmation of a reversal, wait for indication of an uptrend. We have none of that right now. All it does is it consolidates and then it sells off even more. Consolidates and then sells off even more. So because of that, TGT is a huge red flag for me. Yes, it's cheap. It's just too risky to buy blindly as it's just been getting cheaper and cheaper and cheaper. So let me know what you think about that. All right, let's do ExxonMobil. All right, especially with gas prices going up, who loves to pay $5 to $6 to maybe even $7 a gallon? Not me, right? But ExxonMobil looks like it just hit 52-week highs. Looks like it might have hit all-time highs. Let me double check this. Yep, all-time highs at 118 a share. Makes sense. They're getting it all from us, right? Coming from a recent pullback, it looks like it's a really nice ascending uptrend pattern. I mean, ExxonMobil is a great company, right? With that being said, it's a little bit on the overbought side for me. I would like to wait a little bit more for a pullback just to make sure that the upside potential outweighs the downside risk. Again, very simple things that we talk about within LPP, right? But other than that, yeah, I think it's personally a stock that I would love to continue to pay attention to because direction is favorable, higher highs, higher lows. And again, you're just making it easier for yourself because direction is so bullish, right? So anytime that it pulls on back, it has just every single time to the moving average, bounces, right? And recovers. I think that's a great thing about, again, having direction, being favorable on something that continues to indicate signs of an uptrend. So, all right. Let's go ahead and move on to the next one. Again, if you want me to break down your top stock, make sure you drop a thumbs up and then subscribe to the channel so you can partake in that live chat. I want to break down a few more. So if you want me to break down your stock, share it in that live chat and let's break it down. So KHC, what is that? Oh, Craft. Okay. I haven't broken this one down in a bit. And this one looks like it has, wow, okay, like a horizontal pattern setup. What do you guys think here? Right? Common support range, common resistance range. These get a little tricky, right? Because patterns obviously tend to repeat themselves. They don't always have to, but it's good to understand oversold and overbought levels based off of recent patterns. It's coming from a recent pullback and it's consolidating and testing the moving average. So we're not certain that it has to recover. So risk management has to be A1, especially when trading reversals, right? It's your job's not to avoid risk. Our job is to manage it. Let's calculate the risk to reward. So it's testing the break above the EMA. Upside potential is around 17%. Downside risk is about 1/3 of that. Okay. I mean, it makes sense on, especially at these oversold levels. My thing is, are we going to get confirmation of higher highs and higher lows? Do you see last time it pulled up, it pulled back, but it made an ascent, higher low, meaning that when it pulled on back, it didn't go as low as it did before. And it's this like upward staircase pattern, right? Where pullbacks happen, but again, it's indicating signs of growth even as it pulls on back, right? That's what I would like to see here. Holding above the EMA and then showing signs of progress on the upside. So I appreciate you taking time and joining me for the Sunday Stock Talk for me to break that stock down for you. So let me know how this one goes for you. I would love to follow up, but I think it's very early within the reversal, too early to see if it's actually going to hold above that EMA. There's many times that I've been faked out before. So again, just something to pay attention to. PLTR has been one of the most bearish stocks that I've seen in a while, right? Continuous lower lows, lower highs. It's coming from a recent rally. Nice. Anytime that something rallies like this after it's been selling off for so long, I see it as a huge red flag. I might be completely wrong, right? And that's fine, but it's just something that I would refuse to trade. The downside potential for this thing to sell back off to $6 is too high for this thing to potentially begin to go up to try to buy it early, right? The risk just isn't worth it for me. It's now trading below the moving average. You can see that for the past couple of months, it's been lacking progress of growth. This to me is like flashing red. I would be more willing, more encouraged to short something like this than to go long on it. But again, that's just the way that I see it. It has a very common support range here, right around $14 that it continues to hold above. I'd be careful, right? If this thing isn't showing signs of progress of higher highs and higher lows, then why would you want to buy here to potentially, I guess that was your comment, right? Buy at 14, sell at like 16 or something. That's what you want to do. The risk to me is just too high. It doesn't outweigh the downside potential. And for me, that's why I personally wouldn't do it myself. So let me go ahead and break down two more stocks. So again, if you want me to break your stock down, share it in the live chat, drop a thumbs up, and make sure that you subscribe to the channel. So is it worth shorting Tesla? Again, everyone has their own opinions. It's all dependent on if you think it's worth it, right? Who's to say that just because I don't think it's worth it, that it's not, right? Do you have a reason to? NASDAQ market, it looks like it's going to be testing its support right around 240, and we'll see. We'll see if it holds above 240. If it continues to sell off, then will we hit lows of 212 and then break below that and go back down to 150? It's already pretty oversold, and I think that's why you're probably asking the question, because the RSI is very oversold, the MACD is very oversold. So I think it's good that you're being cautious, right? But let's look a little bit closer. Do you see this support zone that we're approaching? Let's zoom in a little bit closer, right? Previous support zone here. And then if we move on over here, this was a resistance zone, right? Because old support levels become new resistance levels if it breaks below. Now, when it broke above, again, old resistance levels become new support levels when we break above. So now it's testing for this to be a support. Now, again, you shouldn't be super biased. If Tesla begins to go up, then don't be afraid to go long, right? If Tesla begins to sell off, then you shouldn't be afraid to go short. But the only thing that I'm paying attention to right now is progress. Are we going to be showing signs of progress on the downside or progress on the upside? And then obviously risk to reward ratios, and then asking yourself, what is your risk management that you're going to be putting in place? So really excited to follow up with this one. Is it worth investing in the C3 AI? I don't know. I feel like that stuff is like the thing that continues to get spammed in my comment section by all of these bots, which makes me think that all of that is fake. It's probably like a crypto or something that they're just going to try to steal your money. So because of that, I probably would say no, not something that I would personally partake in. So I don't even know if you're a bot. All right. So Jay, you're asking me to break down Tesla, yet I literally just broke down Tesla and it's on my screen right now. I see a handful of people asking about PayPal. PayPal was not doing too hot based off of recent patterns, right? So let me make this very simple. And I think it's easier for people to understand that have been here for a while, because I don't think if you lack experience, you probably are not encouraged to look at different time frames. My LPP team gets to watch me trade live every day, right? And one of the things that I love to remind them is that when you look at different time frames, you get different perspectives of that stock and how it has been trading. When you look at the 30-minute, it looks like it's just coming from a recent pullback, right? It was doing fine and it's recently just pulling on back. Maybe I want to buy this. But if I look at the day chart, it tells you and it paints you a different picture. PayPal has been struggling, and it's nearly at all-time lows, right? Or at least 52-week lows. With that being said, if you were to draw a picture of a company of what it would look like that you wanted to invest in or that you wanted to trade, is this the way that it would look like? A consistent descending pattern of something that continues to lose value over a long period of time? No, it would almost be the exact opposite of this, right? This is not showing any signs of growth. So therefore, we shouldn't overcomplicate it. A lot of people try to overcomplicate their trading with trying to find and buy the dip on very oversold companies, thinking that all of a sudden when they buy, the market's going to recover. And at least for me, in my experience, that has never been the case, right? You might get lucky a few times, but at the end of it, are you here to be lucky, or are you here to actually understand what you're doing, right? We're here to try to be consistent, at least as consistent as possible. So I really hope that the criteria that you begin to build for yourself, right, when asking the question, well, what should I look for? Well, paint the picture for yourself. If you were to be able to draw the perfect setup, what would that look like? Would it be a bearish stock? Would it be a bullish stock? Would it be something that is, bullish over a long period of time that recently pulled on back, so it presented a good dip buy opportunity, right? This criteria might look different for every person, right? Because we all see value in different ways. But the idea is, don't put yourself in a position in which you just, I would say, aren't necessarily prepared for, right? If you're not taking time to look at different time frames, right, to get the bigger picture of what's actually going on, then you can really put yourself in a really tough spot, because it's very easy to see that PayPal, all it continues to do is lose value. And because of that, it wouldn't meet my criteria, and it wouldn't be a stock that I would want to consider trading nor consider investing, right? So, but let me know what you think, right? I never want to discourage anyone to not pursue something that they want to do. You guys are all adults. You guys can all do whatever it is that you want. I'm just telling you that based off of my experience, trying to buy the dip that can continue to dip is not the best approach, right? The cheap can always get cheaper, and all I could ever speak from is my experience. So I really do appreciate you guys' time. I hope that we earned your thumbs up in this video. Again, if you guys have any questions, I hope that you know that I respond to all of my direct messages via Discord and via Instagram, as long as you are not a weirdo. And those are all linked in the description of this video. You just have to click like see more in the description, and then all the links will pop up. I do trade live every morning, and that gives you the ability to be able to see my entries and see my exits, but most importantly, to hear my thought process behind every trade I take during those live sessions. If you want to be able to watch me trade live as soon as tomorrow, we are running a sale right now, and it's the second link in the description down below. Again, I hope to see you there, and like always, let's make sure that we end the year on a green note. Take it easy, team.